Hey guys, Tarke here, and this is going to be a weird video that probably only 3 failed art students will enjoy. But GGG recently put out a really good write-up on how they came about designing the Maven, and it just had me kind of thinking about PoE2, narrative structure and Path of Exile, and Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey. Yes, I have a film degree. This isn't scripted, it's going to be very rambly and be very low quality, so people who actually have studied this will probably cringe. But this is The Hero's Journey, and this is something which kind of fixes PoE's arc, because PoE had a very good story arc, and then I think the writing from 5 to 10 is good, but I feel like when we went to like killing the gods, we jumped the shark a bit. And I've had similar conversations with some devs when I was very fortunate to talk to them in New Zealand, and PoE2 seems to be bringing us back to our roots. And yeah, anyway, let's just kind of ramble on about PoE and The Hero's Journey. So if you don't know, Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey is basically the template that every single story follows since forever. You'll have a call to adventure, some supernatural aid, some sort of threshold or a guardian, maybe like a mini-boss. You'll have a mentor figure, you'll have challenges and temptations, you'll have a death or a big defeat, a transformation, an atonement, and you return home changed. So in Star Wars, you'd have Obi-Wan Kenobi losing your hand, then coming home, returning a changed being. In Lord of the Rings, you would have Gandalf, this Abyss and Rebirth would literally be Gandalf the Grey coming back, Gandalf the White, the destroying of the ring, coming home changed, not be able to kind of live in the Shire anymore, going off with the elves. You get the idea, right? So what does this have to do with PoE, if anything? So we kind of actually have this arc really well in Acts 1 through Act 5. So we're thrust into adventure from the fact that we just arrive washed up on a beach. But we are thrust, that we have a disease. No, we are rushed into adventure with the push is literally you are washed up on a beach. You could argue there are multiple mentor figures in just random NPCs you meet in the acts. However, I would say Piety is, funnily enough, sort of the mentor figure through Act 1 to Act 5. It's someone we meet very early on. We drip thread information about her and through her, and it's through our pursuit of her that we kind of learn everything that's been going on. We actually eventually end up teaming up with her in Act 4, and then we defeat Malachi. And we then kind of go into Act 5. Then we sort of have this cycle continue again, with Sin becoming the new mentor, the defeat being us literally being defeated by Kitava, and then we jump the shark, kill a bunch of gods, and our return home is defeating Kitava, and then going into the Atlas, and the cycle kind of starts up again with Zana being the new mentor, the Conquerors, and it kind of gets a bit wibbly wobbly. But then with the Maven, they do a really good job of bringing it all back together. And the reason why I'm talking about this, and the reason why this is relevant to PoE2 and everything, is I think they did a really good job in Acts 1 through Act 5 by having the hero's journey mesh with gameplay elements, and it made sense. So in Act 5, we get defeated by Kitava, and we lose resistances. Right, that's a pretty standard thing. Makes sense. When we defeat Kitava in Act 10, we lose resistances, but there's no, like, they could have very easily had it where we had to sacrifice something of ourselves to defeat him. Like, we sucked up all the god juice, and then it would have kind of made sense we had to give up some of that god juice to defeat Kitava, and the gameplay mechanic would be, instead of losing Pantheon, you lose resistances. Like, they could have tied that into the writing. Maybe it is there, but it's just not at all obvious unless you read through every dialogue line. But yeah, I would like for them to do something like that with PoE2. So in PoE2, it's a 7-act structure, we know. You could have something where we know there's a hooded figure from the Act 1 beta that we got to play. So there'll be like the new mentor. Around Act 3, Act 4, depending on where they want to split it, they can have a big bad boss fight who beats us. Or we defeat them, but we defeat them in a way that maims us in some way. We take a resistance hit. And then in Act 7, when we defeat whatever the big bad is there, have it that we have to give something of ourselves to defeat them, because then it makes sense that we lose resistances, and it's a nice satisfying arc and an ending. We then go into the Atlas. But the Maven does a really good job. Well, I feel like Conquerors was a good story. It didn't really fit the structure very well, and it's very difficult writing stories in a game which has no ending, because it's, you know, constantly going on and on and on. But with Maven, they did an excellent job. So if you look at the introduction of Maven and the hero's journey, the call to adventure would be exploring the Atlas. The supernatural aid could take the form of, you know, Zana and that whole thing, and the actual like Atlas device, Kirak. The mentor figure would be the envoy. It's through him that we learn about the Maven, and he guides us through. We are literally challenged by the Maven. The Abyss, the Death and Rebirth, it's not so much shown in the narrative. This is more of like a gameplay feature of like we die at some point. Either in hardcore we lose our character, we start again from scratch, and softcore we fail a boss fight, and that's kind of like, this is the player provides this stage. The transformation would be the improving of our character, the getting better items, getting better gear, meeting and exceeding the Maven's challenges, and as we then eventually face off against the Maven herself, we return home with the new secret Atlas passive thing unlocked. And then the cycle continues and continues and continues. But yeah, I don't know. The hero's journey is neat. This is an amazing write-up. If you haven't read this, check it out. If this somehow gets back to Matt or Nick, really good job. Apologies for the cringe, scuffed film student talking about the hero's journey. If any literature peeps, I apologize. I mean, I did okay. I got a 2-1. And I mostly focused on documentary filmmaking, to be fair. But yeah, I don't know. I'm Tarke. I enjoy random stuff like this that no one would find interesting or would ever search for in YouTube search algorithms. Have a good day. Bye-bye.